Hi, a warm welcome to our listeners. This is Paushali Las on Israel Talks with Paushali podcast. And I want to introduce you today to someone very special, a peace activist, writer, and founder of Milli Chronicle, Zahack Tanvir from India. Welcome, Zahack.
Thank you so much, Poshali. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, it's so good to have you because you're just such an inspirational person, and I really want our listeners to hear your story. Um, would you please, at the outset, just share a bit about your background, who you are, and your faith and education work? Anything you want to share with us briefly?
Yeah, I'm a Muslim. I'm a practicing Muslim, and I come from a traditional Muslim family. And I am married to a Muslim. From the academic perspective, I am an engineer, and I also hold a master's degree in AI, and I'm a strategic communications consultant. I'm a writer, and I have Milli Chronicle, and I also write for Times of Israel, First Post, CNN, and other media outlets. And I often appear on the podcasts and national TV debates, national TV discussions, panel discussions, especially things related to Middle East and counterterrorism and the dynamics of Saudi, UAE, Israel, and all the things. So last time when Iran was hit by Israel and United States in June, I was so busy on a lot of TV channels discussing about the dynamics and the nuances of what's happening and what's going to happen in future. So
Mm-hmm.
this is my area, and I really enjoy that. It first started as my passion to study the Middle East politics, and it all started back in 2012 when the Arab Spring was happening. And back then, I was in Saudi Arabia, and I saw that the Saudi forces were entering into Bahrain, and the place where I used to live in Dammam, it was very near to Bahrain. It was like 60 kilometers from Bahrain. So I
Mm-hmm.
saw those things happening, and I saw the rise, the uprising in Bahrain, and the Muslim Brotherhood and the banning of the Muslim Brotherhood, and that actually caught my attention. And all the politics happening in the Middle East was reflected in India as well, especially in South India, in Hyderabad, in Kashmir, in Kerala. So I started like a reader, and then I became a writer, and then eventually you see me now in front of you.
Yeah, and I'm so pleased that you're here. Now, just I want you to hold that thought once on Muslim Brotherhood because I want to come back to that. And you mentioned that you saw Muslim Brotherhood being banned in the Middle East in some countries. And we see how Muslim Brotherhood has since spread far and wide. So we'll come to that soon. But would you also share with us what you do with Common Bond Alliance?
Yeah, Common Bond Alliance is an alliance. It's created by, uh, it's founded and created by David Cohen. He's based in California. He's an attorney. He's an amazing person. So Common Bond Alliance is an alliance of the right-minded people. It's a voice of the voiceless. It's the voice of the people who cannot speak in the mainstream media, or the mainstream media often ignore them. So that kind of voice we try to bring in on the Common Bond Alliance. So we have Jewish people, we have Christians, we have Nigerian Christians, we have Muslims, and we have Muslims especially from UAE, and we
Mhm.
have Muslims from Jordan. So it's an amazing panel. So it's all about countering terrorism, speaking about it, and bringing the facts in front of the world.
Right. And how does one get to hear the discussions panels?
Panels, I think right now, since it just started like 3 months ago, so we are planning for the panel discussions, podcasts, and even news articles. So it'll be in the future, but as of now, it's kind of in an infantry stage, and we have amazing people on board. Like we have Walid Fares, and we
Mm.
have Avantas Kumar from India, and we have Suninda Vishit from India,
Mhm.
and some of the Israelis, and some of the Indians, Hindus, Muslims. So it's right now budding, and I'm sure like in the coming month it'll be full fledged.
Okay. Well, I look forward to getting more information and hearing some of the discussions. Um, okay, now I'm originally from India, although I've lived away from India for a long time. But of course, I have family and I go there every year.
Hmm.
But for many of my listeners here, would you share a little bit about the Indian society and the demographics in India? Like Muslim, you are Muslim, Indian Muslim, but probably most people know India as a Hindu majority country, but India has all religions. Now, would you just paint the Indian landscape a bit?
Yeah, definitely. See, last year when I was in Saudi, I used to ask Syrians and Yemenis. I used to ask them, "Anta malum kam adad Muslim fihin?" I used to ask them, "Do you know how many Muslims live in India?" They would say, "La, we don't know."
Mm,
I would tell them officially 250 million Muslims, second largest population in the world. Now
mhm,
they say that it's third largest population, but like 3 4 years ago, we used to say that it's second largest population after Indonesia.
mhm,
So India has the largest Muslim population in the world.
mhm,
But unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about it. They don't even talk about it. And in fact, before partition, when Pakistan got separated, and even Bangladesh, if we would have a Akhand Bharat, I think India would have the first largest Muslim population in the world. So India is a very beautiful country. It's a diverse country. You have Hindus, you have even the Jews, you have even Parsis in India. Parsis have disappeared across the world. You
mhm,
see, they escaped the massacre and the persecution in the Middle East. They came to India. They settled in India, and you
mhm,
see, they are now industrialists. They are now business tycoons. They are big people in India. So
mhm,
India is a cradle where you find people of all faith, all civilizations, and all backgrounds living peacefully. And according to a report by Australia Today, I think it was published in 2023, they say that India has the freedom for all the religions, not only Hinduism, not only Islam, and not only the religions, but the subsects and the subdivisions of those religions.
mhm,
You find the Shia Muslim in India living
mhm,
freely, practicing their faith freely. You have the Sunni Muslims in India. You have the Salafis in India. You have the Deobandis. You have the Barelvis in India, and you find the Jewish people in Kolkata, your place, and
mhm.
you find the Jewish people in Mumbai, in Gujarat, and you
Yeah.
have Parsis, and you find all sorts of people. And recently, if you have noticed, the debate between the famous, the communist Javed Akhtar and the Mufti Shumail, just imagine this debate could not have been possible in any Muslim world, to be very honest with you.
Mhm.
It was possible in India. And
Right.
despite all this, we unfortunately hear people talking that India has killed democracy. There is no freedom of expression in India. But to be very honest with you, India is a place where you can freely practice your faith, you can freely preach, you can freely talk about it, and you can freely move around. This is an amazing country.
Wow, thank you so much for that. You should be an Indian ambassador. But yeah, I mean, this is really amazing, and it's truly like even I've grown up in India with all faiths existing, coexistence, especially being born in Calcutta and also later on growing up in New Delhi. I mean, we have all faiths, and by the way, there are also Christians and Buddhists, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I forgot to mention about them. Christians,
everyone there.
Buddhists,
So
yeah, Roman Catholics, Protestants, Pentecostal, every kind of Christian you'll find in India.
exactly. And that is a very important point. You find not only all religions, but also all the denominations, and everyone has equal right. And yeah, fascinating, fantastic place. Okay, now I want to ask you something. You said that you were in Saudi Arabia, right?
Yeah.
Share a little bit about your experience in Saudi Arabia as an Indian Muslim, as working there. How was Saudi Arabia? Because it's a very interesting country, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting country, and the changes which are happening right now in Saudi Arabia, the reforms taking place, the reforms are amazing. I was
Mhm,
in Saudi for almost 12 years, and by the way, in 2023, I was hosted on Saudi radio,
Mm-hmm.
And the Saudi host asked me, like, what are the things you really saw as, changing, evolving in Saudi Arabia? I said, yeah. First I came to Saudi, I didn't see women driving, and MBS Mohammed bin Salman, he gave them the right to drive, and
Mm-hmm.
Saudi Arabia is changing, rapidly is changing. But at the same time, I would definitely say that I won't call that as my mistake, but I would say that when you're in Saudi Arabia, you have to be very careful when you talk about politics.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be very careful when you talk about the things like Israel or Palestine or, Hindu, Muslim, the Pakistan, and Egypt, Sudan, Yemen. So you have to be very careful about it. Recently, I was on a podcast, and the podcaster, he asked me, like, what is the advice you would like to give to the people, especially the Indians who live in the GCC? I said, the people who live in GCC, not only Saudi Arabia, even in UAE and Bahrain, you have to be very careful when you speak about politics. When you travel to these countries to work, you have to work there. And the politics you can talk back home, and there are very sensitive areas, sensitive domains which you have to avoid when you work in Saudi Arabia or UAE. So, all in all, I can say Saudi Arabia is an amazing place. Saudis are the amazing people. And unfortunately, when I faced the trial in 2023 December because of Pakistan ISI, and being a Muslim, being a practicing Muslim, and speaking for your country, being a nationalist, a Muslim, it's a headache for Pakistan. If you go back to 1965, when OIC was hosting Rabat conference in Morocco,
Mm-hmm.
India was also invited, and Zakir Hussain, who later became the president of India, he was invited as the guest. And Indira Gandhi, she sent almost like 5, 6 Muslim delegates to participate in OIC.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment the delegation arrived in Morocco, the Pakistan military general Yahya Khan, he spoke to King Faisal of Saudi, and he spoke to the king of Morocco, and he expelled the Indian delegation out of OIC. So
Wow.
we need to see the history as well, that Pakistan doesn't tolerate any
Mm-hmm.
kind of nationalist Muslim voice getting closer or working in the GCC. It doesn't like that.
Right. So any voice that comes from India or against Pakistan, or
Not only against Pakistan, any kind of nationalist voice who's extremely pro India or extremely pro native governments. For example, the
oh,
Modi government of India is a native
mm-hmm.
government. And when you look at the other places as well, like for example, Israelis are the native people of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
right? So uh, uh, there are certain powers, there are certain deep states who do not like the native governments, and
Right.
they do not like the people who support the native governments.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is the thing.
Very, very important point. And I know that we are touching on some sensitive issues, but since you mentioned you were on trial in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was on trial. So I served like 1 year in the prison for using my social media to expose the Pakistani politics. So this
Mm-hmm.
was my crime, which is not a crime at all in the entire world. In US, you have this First Amendment, which gives you the freedom to speak, but we do not have that in the Middle East, and we have to understand this, and we have to respect it as well. So I was invited in the G20 summit, which happened in Kashmir in
Mm-hmm.
April 2023. I was invited as an international panelist, and I personally traveled there, and I saw the changes which happened in Kashmir after Article 370 revocation. And I tweeted about it. I said very positive about the changes that happened in Kashmir after the revocation of Article 370. And I was invited on News X, and my tweets were all over the news, and people were discussing about it. There were panel discussions happening. So I became a famous personality just
Mm-hmm.
for tweeting that. And then when I went back to Saudi, then I came to know, like it was in April and May, then I came to know through some sources that, investigation, kind of investigation is happening. Like who is Zahack, and
Mm-hmm.
he is in Saudi Arabia, and being a resident of Saudi Arabia, he traveled to Kashmir and he attended G20. By the way, if you remember back in 2023 when G20 was happening in Srinagar, Saudi avoided to participate in Srinagar.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Saudis usually avoid the disputed regions,
Okay.
and if anything is disputed between India and Pakistan, Saudi tries to avoid that. So being a Saudi resident, I traveled to that place, I tweeted, and I was all over the internet and social media and news.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually triggered ISI. Then in October 2023, I got an email from Pakistan Telecom Authority that some of my social media posts are critical about Pakistan, which they don't like, and they complained it
Mm-hmm.
to X. And X, because of the freedom of expression, they didn't pull it down. And then in December, I got a call, and then they say that we just want to meet you. And I turned up. I went and met them, and they said that you have a problem with the parking. And I was like, I was a bit confused, like, what kind of parking? And I've been parking my car for the past 4 years, and nobody complained about it. And who actually complained now? Then on 18th December, I was returning from the office, and I stopped at a gas station, and four people in the casual dresses in the Saudi khotra Saudi
Mm-hmm.
dresses. They just came, and one of them, he just banged on the window, and he said, you know, we want you to come with us. I said, what happened? Who are you? Then they showed their IDs, and they said, just come with us. We just want to talk to you. And then they took me, and I was under impression that it was kind of miscommunication, or somebody would have given him wrong information. And they were very good with me, like they didn't misbehave or didn't even beat me or talk rudely or harshly with me. They said, don't worry about it, we'll be just checking and talking about it. And then they took me and they said, you have to be here for 5 days. Then from 5 days they extended it to 3 months. So till 3 months there was no clear cut charge, like what is a charge, what is the reason. And the most interesting thing is that when I was there for 3 months, when the charges weren't even proven, people on the social media, especially from the UK, the Islamists from the UK, were talking about me that I am a Mossad agent who got arrested in Saudi.
Okay.
And they started to push this narrative that Israeli trained or RSS trained
Mm-hmm.
agent got arrested in Saudi. Some of the Pakistani media outlets, they push this narrative that a raw agent got arrested, and some of the Islamists, they say that Israeli spy got arrested. And I'm very disappointed. I'm very agaped, even appalled to see that people still believe this narrative. Even today, people ask me, I mean, were you working for Israel? I said, I didn't even visit Israel in my whole life. So how can you
Yeah.
even believe this, this thing, like, this guy, he visited Israel and he was working for the Israeli government. I was not working for any Israeli government, but yeah, I was trying to talk about the Jewish Muslim relationship. I was
Mm-hmm.
talking about the normalization with Israel. I was talking about the existence of Israel. I said that to deny the existence of Israel in itself is against morality. So
Right.
yeah, I was talking about it, and I was making friendship with the Jewish people. When I
Mm-hmm.
visited United States in 2023, I was invited to the 500-year-old Spanish synagogue in New York, the oldest one in New
Mm-hmm.
York. And Rabbi Elchanan Popko, he spoke to the security. He took me to the synagogue. He showed me the history, the Spanish history, how the Jews used to have safe haven and safe refuge under the Muslim Caliphate, Muslim Empire of that time. So he showed me the entire history, and it was amazing trip to
Mm-hmm.
United States. Yeah, to meet the Jewish people. So that was also one of the aspects, and the another one was my views on Kashmir and my views to be a very strong nationalist voice. So all of them fused into uh, one case that this guy is very sensitive, and then they got me arrested.
So, wow. And did your family know, like, did you get any chance to talk to your family before they put you in jail?
No,
No.
no. but since we knew that something was being cooked,
Mm-hmm.
so on, as I said, on 12th December I got a call. So we knew that something is happening in the background. Someone is pulling the string.
Right.
So what I did, I informed my wife about it. I said
Mm-hmm.
that I just got a call, so I maybe picked up any time. But
Mm-hmm.
I was under impression that they would release me maybe
Right.
after casual discussion, but that was my mistake to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So on 18th, the head CID and the Amanat Dawla, the state security, the head of the state security, he came and he
Mm-hmm.
met me. It was almost like 11:30 and 12 at night. And then he said that, tomorrow we will take you to the public prosecutor. Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine. Fantastic. He tapped my back and said that you don't worry. You are a nice person. And, and he gave me my phone and he said, okay, if you want to tell your family about it, just inform them that you'll be with us for a night. And
Okay.
then at that moment, they gave me my phone, but it was like 11:30, 12.
Mm.
And that was not the right time to contact a lawyer. That was not the time to engage with any kind of legal authority. And you can say that was a trap because they arrested me at 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
and till 11, I didn't get my phone. So I didn't
Right.
have any chance to take a lawyer or talk to anyone. And then at 11, they informed me that, okay, you'll be here for a night. And then I informed my wife about it. I gave her the location. I also I told her to inform the embassy, the
Mm-hmm.
Indian embassy in Riyadh, and engage with them, talk to the officers, and try to get their help and talk to the lawyers. And this way, my family came to know that I was held up in a place at so and so location. Otherwise, it's very difficult in Saudi Arabia to find where you are. It's very
Okay.
difficult because you just disappear. You just disappear. Like a lot of people, they're at the workplace, and suddenly a guy comes and says, "Let's have a tea," and he takes you, and the guy disappears. So
Wow.
I was fortunate that I got my phone, and I could tell my family that I'm at so and so location. So the next day they could come, and then they took the lawyers and they were running from pillar to post to check where they transferred me. And then
Mm.
from the CID, they transferred me to lockup, and there I was there for like 7 days. And then from there to central jail for 15, 20 days. And from there to Istiqdam, there's another place. That's like a secluded place, like four walls, four rooms, and like 50 people, all for without sun and without air. So I was there for 1 year. So it
Sorry.
was a very
One
horrific scene.
year
Yeah,
in confined space
yeah,
for
confined
not
space.
even knowing what you did.
Yeah,
What?
not even knowing what you did, and not even knowing what will gonna happen. You don't know what is the crime. All you know is that you just tweeted, you just wrote, and you just exposed Pakistani politics, Pakistani terrorism, and that's it. You know nothing about it. And after 3 months, I got the charge sheet through the lawyer, and they said that you're trying to create rift between the two Muslim brothers. And I was like, that was not my intention because I'm Muslim myself. And they say, no, 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 you're an Indian. You're an Indian. We see you as an Indian. So you're trying to create rift between two Muslim brothers. I was like,
Wow.
what? And that's the reason, Pashali, when the when the rifts happen between the Muslim countries, especially if something is happening between Saudi or UAE or Bahrain or
Mm-hmm.
Qatar or Saudi or Qatar, I better feel that it's always better to align with your country's national interest instead of, talking about who's right, who's wrong. Saudi is correct, Bahrain is correct, or Qataris are
Mm-hmm.
wrong. We know for sure that Qataris have been funding Muslim Brotherhood, and Turkey has been funding Muslim Brotherhood. But when you live in these countries,
Mm-hmm.
it's always better to stay neutral. It's always better to stay mum instead of taking sides. We don't know the next day they just shake hands and then you'll be the criminal.
Wow. I mean, what a traumatic experience, and not just for you, but for your family. I mean, being a wife and mother myself, I mean, if my husband would just had just disappeared, I mean, I
May
don't know
God
how I
forbid.
could have
Yeah.
survived for. a year. So, wow. How did you actually come out after a year?
Uh, we involved almost, we took three lawyers. So you can take up to seven lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Like what you call that wakala. Wakala means the power of attorney. You can
Mm-hmm.
assign it to seven lawyers. So we took almost three lawyers. We were not confident about the first two, so finally we took the third one. And the embassy was also involved, the Indian embassy, and
Okay.
but Indian embassy could could go to an extent, like they could not go
Right.
beyond that extent.
Okay.
Yeah, like they have the diplomatic terms, they have the diplomatic limitations, they cannot go beyond that limit. But they
Okay.
really helped me out. I'm really happy and I really thank them, especially the MEA, Ministry of External Affairs, and
Mhm.
their officers. Very kind people, very nice people. They used to visit my house, they used to visit my family, meet them, greet them. By the way, the prison where I was put, it was like 2 kilometers from my house. So
Wow. And you or your family had no idea that
no
how
idea,
close
yeah.
you were to
So
them.
they would come to meet me and they would, give me motivation, like, Abul Kalam Azad, he was in prison, so and so was in prison, don't worry about it. A lot of people, they went to prison for the sake of nationalistic causes, don't
Okay.
worry about it. They used to motivate me, and then they would go and meet my family, meet them. I think it was a Ramadan, and they came to meet me even in Ramadan inside the cell, like seven gates. They cleared the seven gates and they came to meet me, and they said, okay, get all the Indians. We want to meet them and talk to them. So Indian embassy was very proactive. I really appreciate that. But I would say the first help was obviously from God Himself, and the
Mhm.
second is my wife and her brother. So my wife and her brother were very active. They were running from pillar to post. They were running from Niaba, public prosecutor, to the court, from the
Mhm.
lawyer's office to the police stations. Like they did their best.
Wow. Wow. What a story, really. I mean, but this also gives people a glimpse of who Pakistan is,
Yeah.
and forever, because there are a lot of Indians who are working in GCC area, right? So better keep your opinions to some extent to yourself, and just being realistic here. But it's a
Realistic, and you don't have to, yeah, you don't have to be under impression that if everything is free and you got the
Mm,
freedom to wear what you want or to do what you want in the Middle East, it doesn't mean that you can say what you want in the Middle East. You have to
right.
be very cautious, very cagey about it.
Mm-hmm. Very, very important point. And the other thing that I get from hearing from you, and I've spoken to you in the past also, is that if in the Middle East also, if anybody speaks up for Israel in any way, is immediately branded as a traitor or working for the Mossad or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just wish that this would change too.
No, it's
Um,
not just working for Mossad. Yehudi is a slur in the Middle East.
mhm,
To call someone as Yehudi is a slur. It's an abusive word.
right.
I don't know. Please don't get me wrong. Don't get offended. I know you're a Yehudi, you're a Jew, but it's a slur in the Middle East. If somebody has to curse someone or if somebody has to abuse someone, they say Anta Yehudi, you're a Jew.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
It's a
know.
slur. And
Yeah.
I remember there was a Pakistani guy from Peshawar, and it was a poor guy. He was frustrated because the sponsor took his money and he just lost money. He landed in jail for nothing. So that Pakistani guy used to call the Saudi police officers, and he used to call them on the face, "You're a Yehudi." And those Saudi
Mhm.
guys would smile and laugh and they leave. I mean, you have to understand that this is a very sensitive and touchy thing in Saudi Arabia. But I used to talk to the Yemenis, and we also had the Houthis, the Yemeni Houthis in the prison. So I used to even talk to them. Yeah,
Wow.
we used to share food. Yeah, we used to share food, eat from the same plate. So during the discussions, I would ask them, "Do you know Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him? He just kept his shield as a collateral with a Jewish businessman." They were like, "No, no way. This happened in the history. The neighbor of Abdullah bin Mubarak was a Jew. You know that the advisor of Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi was a Jew." So they didn't even hear about it. They didn't even know about it. All they
Mhm.
know is the Jewish people are the most evil people on earth, and what they know is Israel should be cleared. Israel should be, completely. It should disappear from the
Yeah.
map. This is what they believe. So
Right.
what I think is, when I speak to them, when you speak, when you present the facts, they were like, okay, is this
Mhm.
is this the part of the history? People don't even know about it.
Right.
Okay.
Now, as a Muslim, though, I'd like to hear your opinion. Okay, forget about what the Middle Eastern slurs about the Yahudi being a bad word is, just like the Zios, as the West has now turned,
Mm.
Zionism into a bad word. But what do you, let's say, what does the Quran say about the children of Israel? Well, from you as a practicing Muslim.
See, during my stay there, we didn't have access to any kind of outside world, right?
Hmm.
And there were no books at all. So the only book I had was the Urdu translation or the exegesis of the Quran, published
Hmm.
by the King Fahad Complex of Saudi Arabia. I read it, cover to cover, and I noted some points. And I used to even write articles based on my observations from the Quran. And one of the articles I wrote while I was in the prison was, um, about Jerusalem, about the children of Israel, and my observations from the Quran. So, what I fully understand is that the Jewish people or the Israelis have been part of that place for the past 3,500 years, since even before that, when the first Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Abraham, and his two sons, Ismail and Ishaq, and through Ishaq was the son Yaqub, and through Yaqub was Yusuf. And in Surah Yusuf you read 12th chapter Surah Yusuf, you read a lot about the prophet Joseph and how he
Hmm.
was as a kid, then he went to Egypt, then he became the finance, he was in jail, and then how he became the finance minister of Egypt, then finally he becomes the king. The Benjamin, his brother. So when you read everything about it, you realize that, okay, we have been oppressive in our narratives
Hmm.
against the Bani Israel, against children of Israel. And when you read in Surah Baqarah, you find the story of David and Goliath. The story of David and Goliath is very interesting. And in fact, when I came out, the first place I visited was Medina. And
Hmm.
in Medina, some of my relatives, they study in the Jamia Islamia in Medina, the
Hmm.
Islamic University of Medina. So the first thing I asked them was, in the story of David and Goliath, who was David and who was Goliath, their ethnicities. And
Hmm.
they were like, yeah, the David was Bani Israel and Goliath, he was Palestinian, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I said, you have to understand this, that when God praised David, and he said, and in fact in Surah Baqarah, Allah, he said that sometimes I empower the small group of people against a large group of people. This is what he said. I empower small group of people against a large group of people. And the small group of people he was referring to was David and his army, right?
Yeah.
And King Talut, the Saul.
Hmm.
So he was talking about that he empowered them against the largest army of Goliath.
Right.
Now, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of it, but my personal belief, this is my personal belief, I'm not representing the Muslim belief per se.
Hmm.
So when I read it, and then I realized that, Israel fought almost how many countries in 1947? 67 countries, right? And then another war happened. Then another war happened. Like, time and again, it's been hit. And time and again, you see that Israel is still existing, it's still fighting, and it's still thriving. I don't know. Maybe this is the will of God. I don't know. I can't comment on it.
I think you say a lot without saying anything, but I think we know because I mean, just being in Israel so many times, and this is nothing short of a miracle, to see the nation surviving and also the history of the past thousands of years.
Yeah, yeah,
Coming
yeah.
from you, it's just, I just wish more people could also be at the same level like you. So,
Yeah, maybe in future, yeah, people will realize it one day.
yeah.
And one more important thing I would
Mhm.
definitely like to say, especially to my Indian Muslims,
Mhm.
that we are not Arabs to lobby about the Arab cause of
Mhm.
Palestine, and we are not in the Western Bloc. What I say is that you have to align with the Indian interest. So Indian interest is that Indian interest aligns with the Arabs as well as Israelis. We have amazing deals with Israel. We have the defense deals with Israel. We have economics deals with Israel. So what I personally believe that Indian Muslims have to align with the Indian national interest. So Israel
Mhm.
has been very supportive, very active when it comes to the India's national interest, supporting India's security, India's sovereignty. So I personally see that Israel is the only country which has openly and publicly supported India at many platforms.
Oh, thank you for saying that. So important. So, what advice would you give to Muslims in India and also around the world? How to those who know that what's happening with this rising tide of anti-Semitism is wrong? Now, what advice would you give them to speak up more, maybe, or even if they don't speak up, but any advice you want to give the Muslims?
Yeah, definitely. I would tell Muslims that we have to read Quran. And what I personally believe is that anti-Semitism is not just the definition, is not just a word. It has caused the terrorism and extremism to rise in the Muslim world.
Hmm.
And the end result was that the victims were Muslims themselves. You see
Right.
a lot of organizations. You see Hezbollah claim that is fighting Israel, but who
Hmm.
are the highest number of victims of Hezbollah? Muslims, the Sunni
Yeah.
Muslims especially.
Hmm.
And you have other organizations talking about the annihilation of Israel and the Jewish people, but the end result is that you find the Muslims getting killed by themselves, by them. So what I say is anti-Semitism has caused problem to Muslim society at large. So
Right.
you have to come out of it and you have to go through the Quran as well. All the major prophets mentioned in the Quran, from Yaqub till Jesus, all were Bani Israel, all were the Israelis. Their ethnicity was Israeli. And I was very, appalled to see recently, and it was so ludicrous that someone put it in the Times Square in New York, that Jesus was a Palestinian. How
Mm.
could Jesus? Well, Jesus was not Palestinian. He was Bani Israel. It's mentioned in the Quran that he came for the children of Israel. He was a Bani Israel. Mary
Yeah.
was Bani Israel,
Hmm.
and his uncle Zachariah was Bani Israel. His cousin Joseph was John was Bani Israel. All of them were the Israelis. Nobody was Palestinian. So
Right.
we have to come out of this, cooked up stories that Jesus was a Palestinian. He was not Palestinian. He was a Bani Israel.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. And this is a message that needs to be drilled into the heads of both Muslims and Christians, that Jesus was Jewish and all the characters of the Bible, by and large, are Jewish. So, um, Bible, Quran, whatever, until, of course, the later part of the Quran is different. But yeah, thank you for saying that. Now, I want to finish off soon because I'm aware of the time. Just your views on the Muslim Brotherhood. I want to come back to that because you have experienced the damage they've caused and the result of banning them in certain countries. But we see that evil all over the world now. So, your 2 cents on it.
Yeah, Muslim Brotherhood has hijacked the Muslim representation, and unfortunately, Muslims have given their representation to the Muslim Brotherhood. It
Mhm.
all started in the Arab world. The first thing, like when they lost, Palestine to the British in 1917,
Mhm.
and then after the 1947, the declaration of Israel as a state, they lost the glory, the past glory. So they started to introspect, like, why we lost this past. And then they came to know that, okay, because of this or because of that. Then they experimented with communism, they experimented with socialism. Then finally they said, no, no, we have to come back to Islam. Then they started this Islamism. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, over the years, what had happened, the Islamism has become a dangerous ideology, which is existing today. And the most dangerous thing about the Muslim Brotherhood is that they they are not even practicing Muslim. That's what I recently, talked about it on a podcast, that they're not even
Mhm.
practicing Muslim. They don't even do the daily, rituals or the acts of worship which a normal Muslim does.
Mhm.
So they are more focused on politics, and they have been using Islam as a shield for politics. So there is a difference between Islam as a religion and Islamism as a political ideology. And I'm
Mhm.
very happy and I really appreciate the Gulf countries, especially Saudi, UAE, and Bahrain for banning the Muslim Brotherhood. And I remember back in 2011, 2012, when I was in Saudi, and especially in the Khobar, we used to find the books and the CDs and the DVDs of the people like Tariq Suedan and Sayyid Qutb, the books of Sayyid Qutb and Hassan al-Banna in Saudi Arabia. And they used to have professors in the universities of Saudi Arabia, but right now they took the radical decision. They banned all the books, all the CDs, all the DVDs, all kinds of literature. They gave the ultimatum to the professors. They changed everything in and out.
Mm.
But unfortunately, what we see in the Western world, all this trash is taken as a guest under the name of asylum or refugees, and they are given free hand and freedom of expression to promote their evil ideas.
Right.
So the West has to wake up and
Mm.
understand that the trash expelled by the Middle East is not your guest.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That's how we can save the West, and that's why how we can save the whole world, really. And thank you for also showing us the difference between Islam and Islam as a political ideology. So, thank you so much, Zahak. It's been such a pleasure and such an eye opening conversation. Really, thank you.
No, thank you so much. My pleasure.